In this week's Torah portion, we read of Yaakov, requesting of his son Joseph, the viceroy of Egypt, to ensure that when he passes, that he buries him straight away in the land of Israel, in the cave of the Machpelah. Many question why he had to actually have his son Joseph, who certainly would want nothing less than to honor the wishes of his father, to enforce it by having him swear. What was the need for him to swear? The simple approach would be that if Pharaoh would cause any problems to Joseph, if there would be any obstacles to fulfilling Yaakov's wish, then Joseph would be able to tell Pharaoh, or whoever it may be, that he is sworn to his father. He took an oath. And everybody understands the importance and the seriousness of when somebody promises someone that I will do this, whatever may come my way. This also includes the idea that when we take an oath, when we make a pact with someone, when we give somebody our word, which hopefully is very important to that person, that whatever may come down the path, he will be able to overcome it in order to fulfill his promise. Sometimes, when things aren't that serious to us, when we can always say we tried our best. But when we make a promise to someone, just trying our best is simply not enough. And we will go to the extreme to ensure that we get it done. And maybe that's what Yaakov wanted from Yosef. There is another Hasidic approach, that Yaakov understood that the problem may not be Pharaoh. The problem may not be permits and government issues. The problem may be in Joseph's head himself. Joseph may think, ultimately, I will take my father's remains to Israel. I will have him buried and laid to rest in the cave where his parents and grandparents are buried. But in the meantime, would it be useful? Would it be beneficial to the Jewish people to have a tzaddik, a saintly, righteous person like Yaakov, buried in the midst of the Jewish nation until they can get out of Egypt? Because Yosef, as well as the brothers and Jacob, understood that this was just the beginning of what we would call our first exile, and that Jews would have it difficult in Egypt, and it would be a painful process. And when we have painful processes, what do we need? We need encouragement. We need people to help us with our hope, with the idea that we have a promise that we will get out of this exile. And Jacob represented that. So Joseph may have thought, if I can keep my father, Yaakov, here in Egypt until we leave, so that people will be able to come and pray by his graveside and be able to beseech him, knowing that Yaakov as well holds the promise that we will leave from this terrible place, how much solace and comfort that would bring to the people. So Yaakov understood that maybe Joseph was thinking this in his mind. And so the oath and the promise was for Joseph himself. Then don't come up with any excuses for me to be buried in Egypt until you fulfill my promise, because of the benefits that it would provide to the Jewish nation. On the other hand, we can add, why was it so important? Why didn't Yaakov want to contribute to the ease and comfort while the Jews were suffering in the Egyptian exile? Why wouldn't he want his burial site to be there so people could come and pray? And the answer is that Yaakov felt that by being buried in Israel, he would implant in the Jewish people something even greater. He would convince the people that just like Yaakov did not want to overstay for a moment in Egypt, so too they must feel the same way. Don't become comfortable in a home that's not yours. Don't become comfortable in a place that doesn't provide your ultimate perfection and growth. And just like Yaakov did not want to spend another minute in Egypt, and just like Yaakov wanted to be buried and laid to rest in the place that is home, he wanted the Jews to know that every single minute that they're in Egypt is a minute too long. And they need to do whatever it takes to get them back to their homeland. By being buried in Israel, Yaakov implanted in them this desire and this will to get to Israel as fast as they could. And we have to know that at the end of every tzara, at the end of every problem, at the end of every exile, at the end of every position that the world places us in, that we are not safe and secure in our home, we have to know that ultimately the goal is achievable. The goal to get our soldiers out of Gaza is achievable. The goal to stop the bloodshed and the loss of fathers and mothers and brothers and sisters is achievable. And just like Yaakov said, do whatever you can to bring it to its end. We need to bring this to its end as fast as we can. And it won't be because Pharaoh will allow us to. It will be because we are determined to bring the suffering to an end and bring us back to a peaceful and serene Israel, and ultimately will be eternally safe and eternally our home with the coming of Mashiach. Good Shabbos.